It's porn. Hi, welcome to Keith Explains again. Tonight, we're going to talk about a movie, because we haven't talked about a movie in a while. So last night, I went and saw me that XXX movie, which is not a XXX movie. I mean, it was rated R. It kind of didn't make a bit of sense. I mean, I'm sure some Hollywood executive somewhere was thinking, this will be great. We'll name a movie XXX, and then people will think it's porn, and they'll, no, because I'd seen the trailers, I knew what it was. See, XXX is a loud guy movie. It's loud, lots of stuff is always happening. Midway through there's a girl, but there's a lot of action, guns, things blow up, and then in the end everything is resolved, mostly due to the blowing things up. Because blowing things up is a great way to resolve issues. In general, I mean not every issue, but a lot of issues can, if you blow things up, become resolved. So XXX, movie starts, it's in Czechoslovakia. It's another movie in Czechoslovakia this year, just like Blade 2. Czechoslovakia is apparently the new place to have movies set. I think because no one really knows where Czechoslovakia is. I mean, it's somewhere in Europe, I think. And it's not next to France, I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it is next to France. But it's somewhere in Europe, and they speak Czechoslovakian there, although, of course, you wouldn't know it from this movie, because from this movie, everyone in Czechoslovakia speaks English. I assume because we brought all the English-speaking people over there when we filmed the movie, but that aside. So we're in Czechoslovakia. It's just like Blade 2 when it starts, really. You know, there's a guy being chased through the streets of Czechoslovakia by bad guys. Look vaguely like vampires, but they're not. They're just evil Russians. I mean, maybe evil Russians are vampires, although I think most vampires are actually Transylvanians. Evil Transylvanians, of course, but maybe it's like a common genetic heritage or something. But you know, nice guy being chased through the streets. I don't know, he's dressed kind of weird, on a motorcycle, and they're going to catch up to him, and he's very suave in the way he dispatches his chasers, and he gets somewhere, and he like quick jimmies a lock, and he goes in, and as he goes in, he takes off his outer like jumpsuit, and he's wearing a tuxedo. So first off, you know that people making this movie are making fun of James Bond, because James Bond's suave, you know, always wearing a tuxedo when he's Mr. Super Spy, which this guy obviously is. You know that because you know it's a spy movie, because the whole trailers and everything. So he's in this thing, and it's a nightclub, and it's the most happening nightclub ever. I mean, this is the kind of nightclub that you really only ever see in movies, because everyone's dancing and everyone's attractive, and at the bar, there's not a huge line of people waiting to get drinks. You know, you could just walk up and get a drink if you wanted one. Oh, and you probably wouldn't have to pay for it, because no one ever pays for drinks in movies. They just get them. But anyway, so this guy in the tuxedo, he's working his way through the nightclub, and there's loud German industrial music playing, which personally was kind of cool for me, because I like the loud German industrial music. I've always thought the music for Keith Explains should be loud and German and industrial, but it's not. It's something else. But that said, so he's working his way across the thing, and then we see an evil Russian, you know, a little cell phone. You don't see the brand of the cell phone in the evil Russians. The good people, I believe, use Motorola cell phones, but evil Russians, who the heck knows? I mean, probably Singular or something, but that's not really made clear in the movie. Evil Russian, you know, takes out a rifle and shoots him just as the song reaches its epic climax, and then the cool debonair spy in the tuxedo topples over, and then everyone in the crowd holds him up, you know, while they're doing the mosh dancing, and then they roll credits, and you think, cool, you know, whatever. So now you go back to America. You're at CIA World Headquarters, and we have a problem. There are evil Russians doing something, but we can't figure it out what it is because they keep killing our spies. And I'm thinking, that's because our spies keep wearing tuxedos to nightclubs where people play loud German industrial music. Not a single other person in that nightclub had anything resembling a tuxedo on. I mean, there were women that I think were actually wearing dental floss, okay? But no tuxedos. This is why they can tell who our spies are. Our spies are idiots. Well-dressed, but idiots. And then we meet Samuel Jackson, and Samuel Jackson must just be rolling in money, because he's in like every movie around. I mean, it's just, you keep thinking, oh yeah, another movie with Samuel Jackson in it. I'm sure he's rolling in money now. I mean, he didn't used to be rolling in money. He was in that Pulp Fiction movie, and I think he didn't make a lot of money. And now he's in every darn movie. Oh, and he's got this thing on the side of his face. So Samuel Jackson is like, well, we got to find some other kind of super spy to send over there. And I'm thinking, well, let's see, we're getting the guys in tuxedos from Harvard. What if we go to, I don't know, University of Chicago, or maybe like Northwestern? But no, that's not his idea. His idea is we'll get scum. I'm thinking there's a reason we don't use scum as spies. It's because they're scum. I mean, they're not nice people. Nice people do not go over and be good spies. Nice people, you know, go over and stab America in the back or something. But it's a movie, so what are you going to do? So now, from there, we cut to California. And we know it's California because they put little letters up at the bottom. It says Sacramento, California. And it's a country club. The guy drives up in a fabulous car. And he gets out and he's got a floozy with him. And he's annoying. He's obnoxious to the little guy that you give your car to. The car guy. I don't know what they are because I've never given my car to a guy to park because I'm the kind of guy that just drives his car where it's supposed to go and parks it and then walks. But that's really not important for the movie review. So don't be obnoxious to the guy you're giving your car keys to, ever. I mean, certainly not when you're in a movie, but ever, because you're giving that guy your car. Leaving that aside, so this guy gets in the car and then he's, don't, park it somewhere in the shade, and it's a red sports car or Corvette or something. I could never recognize cars. I don't have the car recognizing gene. But then the guy in the car drives off, just guns the engine and drives off, and then he's like, wait, that guy's stealing my car. And then he gets on the phone and he says, this is Senator Blank, get me the CHP. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this is definitely fictional, because senators in California don't have the phone number for the CHP in the little auto dial. They probably got lobbyists' phone numbers in there, but not the CHP. So now he's driving off in his car and he races down the road, and then he pulls over, and then the next time you see him, he's racing down the road and he's got these cameras and crap tied onto the car. And now the guy behind the wheel, you see him for the first time, he introduces himself, to little cameras, but in a sense he's introducing himself to you since you're the one watching the movie. And he's like, hi, I'm Xander, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of stopped paying attention. But he's talking about how the guy whose car he stole was some bad senator who was annoying and obnoxious and didn't like video games and stuff. And so immediately, I started to sympathize with this huge guy because he's against the evil senator who's named Dick. I mean, you can tell the guy that wrote this was like, yeah, this is great because we'll get to make a lot of dick jokes. Don't be against video games, Dick. Satan now. It's just seemed kind of stupid. But he's driving the car, and there's like 9 CHP cars behind him, all the little lights on. They're racing down thin roads. And you're like, oh, this is interesting. But now you've seen this part in the trailer, so you know it's going to happen. So it ruined it for me. And they got the red car, and they're zooming down the road, and they got the red car, and there's the cameras on it. And they get to a huge bridge that's over a huge, deep valley. And suddenly I go, there's nothing like that within 200 miles of Sacramento. Sacramento is flat. It's flat and hot. There are no tall bridges or anything anywhere near Sacramento, but there are a lot near Hollywood where they filmed this movie. So he gets the car and drives it, and there's a little thing in the middle of the thing, and they drive the car over it, and the car flies off the edge of the bridge, and Xander, jumps out of the car, and he's got a parachute, and he deploys the parachute, and the car hits the ground and blows up. I mean, and Xander lands with the parachute, and they quick go grab the cameras, and they get in the car, and they drive off, and then the people, the policeman up on top look down, and blah, blah, blah. So instantly we know Xander has done some bad things, but he's kind of this extreme, living on the edge adrenaline guy. Next thing you know, SWAT people break into a party at this Xander's loft. Huge loft. I mean, the man has no job because he's doing this kind of thing on camera. And he has a huge loft, and he's having a huge party, and the cops come and arrest him, and then they, you kind of know it's the CIA, and they take him to some weird diner, and it's a test to see if he's the right kind of scum, smart scum. I didn't know there really were a lot of smart scum. I mean, scum is scum because it's scum. Smart scum are, well, CEOs. I mean, it stands to reason. If you have no ethics but you're smart, well, you go to Harvard, you get a degree, you just join a company and you lie about how much money they're making. But that was last week. So this Xander, everyone calls him X apparently, and he's got a big 3 X's tattooed in the back of his head, I suppose, so that if you see him from behind, you know who he is. Or something else. It didn't make any sense to me. But so the CIA guys, they're testing him to see how good his reflexes are, and he passes the test. And then they keep shooting them with these little darts that knock them out, which I'm thinking, doesn't that hurt when someone shoots you with a dart that knocks you out? I mean, you're going to have a little hole in your chest for a couple days thereafter, and it's always going to be tender. You're going to be like, ow, ow. But no, never happens. So after this, apparently they must have tested a whole bunch of scum. You don't see any of the rest of the scum being tested, but there's the strong implication that they're going on a scum hunt. Next, Xander wakes up. He's on a plane. They drop him out of the plane. The plane kind of lands, and they throw him out. It's stupid, really. I mean, just land. But and they're in Colombia, and they're at a cocoa field, apparently where you get cocaine from, or Coca-Cola. I wasn't clear. Now there's 3 white guys, skinheads really. None of them have any hair. They all really look like skinheads. They're in Colombia. So of course, they're captured by the evil Colombian drug lords who want to torture them. And then they find a way to fight back and beat up the torturer. And then just as that happens, the Colombian army decides to take this moment to attack the drug lords. I mean, this never happens in real life. See, the whole purpose of the Colombian army is to not attack the drug lords so that the country will have some cash coming into it. You can tell this whole part of the movie is kind of contrived because all they want to do is show that Xander can deal well both in a diner test and in a real-world test where they got guns and they're shooting at him and whatever. So again, he passes the second test. Now what happens? Little Mr. Samuel Jackson, little Mr. La Royale quarter pounder thing comes out. It's like, I have a job for you. You're going to serve your country. And I'm thinking, man, is this a cliche? Going to send him over to Czechoslovakia to deal with scum. And he sends him over to Czechoslovakia to deal with the Russian scum. Doesn't tell him a damn thing about what he's got to do or anything. I mean, we have the stupidest spies in the world. It just explains a whole bunch of things. It's why we know nothing. Our spies, not smart. Gets over to Czechoslovakia. He's wearing sheep, near as I can tell. The whole movie long, he's wearing one big sheep over his entire body. And he gets there, and he's, oh, I'm tired, and he meets a Czechoslovakian policeman, and there's tension, and you can tell the Czechoslovakian policeman's eventually gonna turn on him and try to kill him or something. But that's just the way. Never trust a Czechoslovakian policeman, I think, is a moral of this movie. Oh, if you happen to be a super American scum spy. If you're a regular guy, Czechoslovakian policemen are probably perfectly fine. I've never met one. I don't even know if they have policemen in Czechoslovakia. I don't even know where Czechoslovakia is, as I mentioned. But somewhere, they probably have policemen there. Okay, so now, again, they're in Czechoslovakia. What's he got to do? He's got to meet with a scum. Where are scum? Scum are in nightclubs. Scum are in huge, fancy parties in nightclubs. I mean, I talked about earlier. This is like a $300,000 party. All the beautiful people are there. There's no line at the bar. There's a loud band playing. Everyone's dancing. No one's drunk. This is fiction. He gets there, with his little Czechoslovakian policeman buddy, and his Czechoslovakian policeman buddy. He's like, those are the guys you want to deal with. Those scum in that secret room back there that's off to the side, but very open so that we can see exactly what's happening there. And I'm thinking, no, real criminals aren't this stupid. See, real criminals don't sit out in public and do criminal enterprises. They do it, behind nice closed doors, preferably, just talking about it or whatever, because criminals aren't stupid. Well, some of them are, but these aren't. Oh, and there's a girl. I mean, there's always a girl in these movies. There's a girl here. She's scantily clad. She's with the scum. And you know that before the end of the movie, she's going to be with XXX. Not going to go into it anymore. Just think about it for a moment. So now, XXX in the nightclub. And what does he think? He thinks, I'm just going to barge myself straight over there and introduce myself to these guys, and they're going to accept me because I am scum, and they are scum. We're going to get along. And he goes over there, and there's some lame, oh, I want you to get some cars for me. And you're like, what? Where'd this cars thing come from? And apparently he wants the scum to steal him some cars, and he's going to give him like $1 million for it. And he gives him a list of cars, and then he goes back to his little Czechoslovakian hovel where he's living, and no one follows him or nothing. I mean, if you're a criminal and some guy you've never seen who's a famous American comes over and wants to buy cars from you, for God's sakes, have one of your henchmen follow him back to the hotel he's staying in and make sure he isn't living with a Czechoslovakian cop. It's just smart. But that doesn't happen. He goes back and he talks to little Samuel Jackson on his magic little Motorola visual cell phone pager. Fantastic frame rates across the ocean, no lag, no nothing. I mean, this is the kind of product you can't really buy anywhere. Oh, and it's a Motorola because he's a good guy. And he's like, oh, yeah, I got the cars. They're going to have them next week. I need $1 million. Here's a bank account, blah, blah, blah. And Samuel Jackson is like, that's good. That's good. Okay, go get the cars. And then he goes to get the cars. And it's, they've stolen a whole bunch of cars for him. And they're in a warehouse. And he's like, okay, well, there's no money here. And then bang, suddenly there's money in the account. They wire transferred it over or something. And then, there's a noise because that stupid Czechoslovakian policeman, he's been following Xander around and he makes a noise and then they got to chase him. And now, the scum, they aren't sure whether Xander's a good guy or a bad guy. Well, they don't know whether he's scum or not. Maybe he's working with the police. And so Xander, has to fake killing the Czechoslovakian policeman so he can get in with them. And he shoots him with the magic, oh, this is a looks like you're dead but you're not bullet and blah, blah, blah. It's, the first time they introduced this bullet, you just knew this is exactly what was going to happen a little ways into the movie. And it did, because it's a cliche and it's a plot, and we don't care as long as stuff is blowing up and it's loud. We're enjoying the movie. And now all the Russians go off to their huge mansion up in the mountains where they all live, and they take Xander with them because he's now their best buddy. I mean, they've only known him for like 3 days now, but he's their best buddy, and he's trying to get in with a girl, but she won't have nothing to do with him. And suddenly, midway through the movie, he gets there, and they're having a big party, and they're like, well, here, let me show you to your bedroom. And he's like trying to get in with a girl, trying to get her to come into his bedroom with him so there could be some, that XXX action. But no, she's not having nothing to do with that. And then gets into the bedroom, and of course, there's a slinky girl in there. And she's wearing nothing, and then a slinky girl, and then XXX. That's all I'm saying about the movie. They don't show any of it because it's actually an R-rated movie. But there's this strong implication. And then XXX wakes up early because he's that kind of guy. He's a getting up early in the morning, going to well, he doesn't have a job. But if he did have a job, he'd be the getting up early, going to work, regular family. Well, he's not, but he'd be straight-laced family man, except he's not. So he gets up early, he's sneaking around the castle trying to look at all their cool spy stuff, and he finds the slinky Russian girl is also sneaking around the castle looking at spy stuff, and he's starting to get a feel for her. Now we, of course, know that she's going to turn out not to be evil, because he likes her, and he couldn't like an evil girl. I mean, that would be wrong, fictionally wrong. That'd be the kind of thing that couldn't happen in a real spy movie. I mean, it could happen in real life. Couldn't happen in a real spy movie. So, she's sneaking around, he's sneaking around. And then they go out to lunch. I don't know why they go out to lunch, and he's like, oh, I'm a spy. And she's like, well, I'm a spy. And then she gets a call on her non-Motorola phone from a guy that said, hey, he's a spy. We're going to kill him. And she's like, oh, but I love him. And you're like, what? So now they got to sneak out of the restaurant and not get him killed, and then they find some stupid way to do it. It was action. Again, he's being an extreme sports guy. He goes down a long stairway on a metal dessert tray. Just like the extreme skateboarders do on the skateboards, like the Tony Hawk guy. But I don't think they really practice, the Tony Hawk guy on dessert trays. So I got to think it's even harder than with a skateboard. So that means that this XXX guy is just a fabulous extreme sports guy. Anything he wants, he can do, because he's a fabulous super spy, scum guy, something. So he escapes, and then he goes to the opera house. I don't know why. And Samuel Jackson is there listening to an opera, and he's like, well, you got to go back home because your cover's been blown. And this, of course, infuriates XXX guy, because now he loves the Russian. He's got to go save her. So he's like, heck no, I'm still a good spy. And you're like, this so doesn't make any sense at all. And we're only halfway through the movie. Trust me, it's going to really start not making sense soon. So now, XXX sneaks back up to the huge thing in the foothills, far up in the mountains. It's the middle of summer. You can tell it's the middle of summer because he's wearing a sheep again. But like up near the mountain house, there's snow in the hills. But anyway, so he climbs up the rock face to get to the mountain house, and he sneaks in, and he's putting these cool explosives that this geeky little MIT graduate gave him, because the geeky little MIT grad is a super Q spy gadget making guy who's just not respected by his superiors. But he's seen XXX and realized this is a super spy. I'm going to give him all my cool spy gadgets and he'll use them, and then I will be beloved. So XXX sneaks into the castle and he's trying to get to the girl. And oh, and this is the point in time, even though the slinky Russian girl has been with the evil Russian guys for like 2 years, this is the night that they've decided to let her in on their secret world dominating plans. So they're taking her to the basement down in the dungeons of the cool little house in the hills, and they're going to show her their evil plan. Here's their evil plan. They've hired a bunch of Russian scientists and paid them with the money they made stealing cars to develop a special 2-part deadly gas called Silent Night, which they have built into rockets, which they are installing in a special solar-powered submarine, which is autonomous, which is going to drive around the world, surfacing in major cities where it launches the deadly gas rocket and kills everyone. Okay, let me summarize that again, because I'm sure a lot of you didn't, your mind stopped partway through and you didn't quite know what I said. Solar-powered submarine, deadly gas, rockets, killing everyone. These are the goals of Anarchy 99, the secret evil Russian morons. Because, see, they're disillusioned after the war in Russia, and so they want to destroy all world governments. And I'm thinking, this was the best you could come up with? I mean, why do you even have the submarine? Why do you need the submarine? I mean, couldn't you just fly to the various cities of the world and leave behind bombs which will explode several hours later, killing everyone? No, they need the submarine because that way it'll be random and anachronistic and no one will be able to trace it. And then all the world governments will gang up on each other and kill everyone. And I'm thinking, no, the vodka has gone to your brains, Russian mob guys. If you're going to be an evil world dictator, my belief is you should go to a 3rd grade classroom and explain your evil plan to whatever boy in there has the highest score on whatever the popular video game of that year is. And then you should ask him what the holes in your secret plan are. And you should listen to that little boy, because he's going to point things out that you and your Russian compatriots have totally overlooked. Like you are vastly over-engineering the whole submarine rocket part, okay? You have a deadly gas. That's all you need. So now they have a whole bunch of Russians in a secret underground lair, and they've explained the submarine secret gas, etc. thing to the evil Russian girl. And meanwhile, Xander has snuck in behind him and is using his cool look-through-walls binoculars to see everything. And all the evil Russians are in the secret underground lab, and they think, well, now let's go into these airtight compartments off to the side, and then we'll launch one of the secret deadly gas rockets and kill all the Russian scientists that help us while we watch and mock them through the cool glass walls. And then, when the gas has filled the room, and if we were to breathe even a speck of it, we would die, we will then turn on the special filters that suck all the deadly gas out of the room in about 1.5 minutes. Oh, and then we will reveal the key plot point, which is that the gas breaks down if it's deep underwater. Man, okay, if you're going to write a movie like this, hire a chemist to give you a plausible explanation for what destroys deadly gas. I'm thinking heat. You know, a nice big huge hot explosion probably destroys most deadly gases. But that's sad. So now Xander, slutty Russian girl, they're back up. Xander is forced to escape because they discover him, and he gets on a motorcycle and rides back down to town and goes to secret CIA world headquarters in Czechoslovakia. Big concrete building, middle of town, I'm sure, because it always is a big concrete building in the middle of town. And he's like, okay, we got to get up there and stop them. And then, you know, Samuel Jackson is there, and he's like, no, we're taking over. We got police forces going up there. And Xander's like, no way, you'll never get in. And I'm thinking, well, sure they will. I mean, they're not idiots. They are idiots because they're in the CIA. But maybe they've hired smart local people. And then, you know, a huge force ascends up, and they're trying to break in. And Xander's like, well, if we want to get in there, we got to break down their communications tower, which is some stupid little antenna up on a mountain. So they fly him in a plane, and they drop him like way the hell up the mountain. And then he snowboards down while they're playing loud music. And then he gets above the antenna, and now the evil guys are headed up to kill him on snowmobiles. And then he drops grenades behind him, which starts an avalanche. And he snow glides down the mountain, headed straight for the antenna, while the avalanche is deep behind him. And then the avalanche keeps killing the guys on snowmobiles, because avalanches hate snowmobiles. And then he gets to the antenna, and he jumps, and he catches the top of the antenna just as the avalanche reaches him, and then the avalanche destroys the building up there, and it totally covers the antenna. But he's okay, because he's hanging on the top of a very tiny little antenna far, far up in the air. And then he climbs out, and then, you know, he snowboards down or whatever the heck to get back down to the main house. In the main house, their whole spy surveillance system has been destroyed because we took out the antenna. And then a huge firefight elapses, you know. Cops coming in with machine guns and people there with machine guns. There's so many people in this house. I mean, you think that there's only about, you know, 5 or 6 evil Russian guys, but there are hundreds of them apparently. And there's a huge, you know, fight back and forth with guns and blowing things up and crap. And and the evil guy sneaks down to the basement, and Xander's close behind him, and, you know, there's kind of slinky Russian girl, and they're trying to get down to the basement so they can launch the secret submarine. And they get down there, and they slide the hard drive into the submarine after they've explained the evil world dominating plans to everyone. And then the sub, it takes off. You know, just like subs always do. It's autonomous, can think for itself, as long as you plug a hard drive into it. And it's going down. Now remember, the house is way the heck up in the mountains? Apparently there's a river between this house way up in the mountains in Czechoslovakia and the world's oceans. Because it's going down a river at like 80 miles an hour. So Xander has to go run out, and he gets in his car, and he's racing down the mountain trying to chase the sub, which is just, this sub looks like the stupidest thing doing 80 miles an hour down the river. Of course, it's filled with deadly gas. So Xander in the car, blah, 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 you know. Eventually, he pulls up in the car, and he shoots a harpoon at it, and then he rides behind it on a parachute, kind of parasailing thing, and he manages to get himself down to the sub, and he's looking at the sub, and after he gets to the sub, and he's thinking, how do I destroy it? There's like 2 minutes when he's just sitting on a sub staring at it like this, and their F-15 fighters going to come in and blow up the sub, because if you blow up the sub, only this one city in Czechoslovakia will be destroyed, because all the gas will be released here. And I'm thinking, wait, if you had F-15 fighters, why didn't you send them at the little aerial antenna up on the hill? Wouldn't it have been a lot faster? But no. So Xander, he finally manages to, in the nick of time, just as the little rockets are about to go off, he managed to destroy them. Oh, but of course, you know, the things dove deep into the water and took him with him, and he's dead, and everyone knows he's dead, and everyone manages to gather on the bridge underneath which he has been horribly killed moments before, and they look over the edge, and they're like, oh, he died, but he gave his life for his country. But no, he's not dead. I mean, he surfaces. He always surfaces. You can tell he surfaces because they need him for the sequel. Oh, and he comes up, and the Russian loves him, and he goes back to America, and I assume there's going to be a sequel. I mean, this movie made a whole bunch of money the first week. It didn't make any sense at all.